Hello YouTube, this is Frugal and this is the Frooglesim news for today, Sunday, December the 6th. First up, obviously big news, Eagle Dynamics this week released the Nevada test range. Now the Nevada test range is free if you pre-ordered the A10C way back in the midst of time, 2011 I want to say, since it was a bonus if you were a pre-order customer at that point in time. If however you did not, it will set you back $49.99 and it's also not available today for Steam users, so it got released but it kind of didn't and it's still an alpha test so it's not final, but you get the idea. Coming soon for Steam users, currently unavailable for these Steam users though, and only available for non-Steam people. This is a beta version of the map and it's running inside an alpha test version of the sim, so be aware that it's not complete and there are likely to be issues. The map covers the Nevada test and training range, which is the largest contiguous air and ground space available for peacetime military operations. It includes simulated air defenses, air bases, target ranges, as well as Nellis Air Force Base, Creech Air Force Base, Las Vegas McCarran International, Las Vegas itself, and of course the Hoover Dam. It looks spectacular and is worth checking out. It actually really shows what the revised DCS World engine is capable of, and if Eagle and their partners can really get on board with cranking out high quality maps like this fast, it could dramatically transform the sim world and massively elevate DCS as a platform in the community. The video you've been watching is of course of DCS World 2 with the Nevada test range, but also showcasing the DCS Gazelle, because that's the next piece of news. The Eagle this week, or last week actually, previewed the DCS Gazelle. Matt Wagner from Eagle Dynamics runs a weekly DCS update show, and in last week's episode had Polychop Sims show where work is at with the upcoming DCS Gazelle. The footage is of course pre-alpha, so there's still some way off being able to release this to the general public, but it is looking great. The flight model in particular is very far along and has been checked and verified apparently by real Gazelle and Puma pilots, and Polychop are actually very happy with how it's come along. When it's released, the DCS Gazelle is also going to include a 12-mission single-player campaign, as well as of course training missions and single missions. Next up, Milviz this week released the F4J and F4S Phantom 2. This is the carrier-capable version of their Phantom, and it's now available for all versions of FSX and prepared version 2 and 3. Milviz say that they are confident the model represents an extremely true-to-life rendition of the real-world aircraft, with both the J and S models accurately modeled visually and in terms of performance. However, only the S cockpit is available in the add-on. It has a fully interactive cockpit though, with realistic startup and shutdowns, fully functional loadout menu, has a flight model from Bernd Stoll, and a very realistic sound set recorded from an actual F4. The price is $59.99 for both FSX and prepared, and there is actually a bundle, I think it's about $89, I've lost my note on that, which will get you the J and S versions as well as the original F4 Phantom E that Milviz released some time ago. More information at the Milviz link in the show notes below. Now, talking of carriers, this is a really interesting and obscure one. Delta Sim, yeah I know, I'd never heard of them either, have released the USS Essex and the USS Kearsarge. Now, these are completely accurate models of two key aircraft carriers from the US, with controls to start and stop various functions such as radars, flags, doors, elevators, and so on. In fact, this is the odd bit, which is kind of cool. These are fully functional ships, which means they have a virtual cockpit and they can be driven around. The add-ons include working anchors, detailed spray and wake effects, working lights, as well as 3 pilotable versions of the aircraft carriers themselves, so ones that you can presumably drive around in a multiplayer environment and let your friends land on you, as well as 2 AI versions which you can presumably use for landing on yourself rather than driving them around and landing. They are pretty weighty add-ons. They come in at 240 megabytes of the download for FSX only and will set you back $48. More information at the Delta Sim Studio link in the show notes below. Next up, Aeroplane Heaven this week released the Miles Hawk Speed 6. Now that's an obscure aircraft which I've never heard of. It's an accurate rendition of the 1930s Hawk Speed 6 from Miles. So Miles was the company. It was a racer derived from the Hawk Major Trainer, and it was an aircraft that actually competed in racing all the way up until 1972 when it placed second in the King's Cup. Now, as with other Aeroplane Heaven aircraft, the attraction here is really the visual model and the experience of flying a very rare rare aircraft in a sim, it is not a study level add-on. It does, however, bring with it a cool in-game options menu for adjusting the pilot's sight point, an accurate sound set, and showcases new model painting techniques from Aeroplane Heaven that they are confident highlight differences between the different materials used in these period aircraft. Best thing of all though is probably the price. This is going to cost just $17.95 and is compatible with all versions of FSX and prepared version 2. Finally, X-Plane news. I know the X-Plane people have been chomping at the bit throughout the entire show. The X-Craft Embraer E175 has released. The Embraer E175 is a narrow-body, medium-range twin-engine airliner designed to fit between regional jets and larger airliners such as the Airbus. X-Craft's version has been tested with the help of an actual E175 pilot. It features on-screen checklists, a custom-built FMS, although you do also have the option of swapping in or out the default FMS if you want an easier-to-manage one. Has an accurate PFD, MFD and ICAS displays, synoptic pages, high-resolution textures, fully interactive cockpit, and even simulates the aircraft's HUD. And that's just internally. Externally, the X-Craft Embraer uses 4K resolution textures with extremely detailed gear flap and speed brake animations, and of course, wing flex. The aircraft uses nav data from Aerosoft, so if you have a subscription to Aerosoft's nav data service, you'll be able to get updates for it. No support as yet though for Navigraph, which I and a great many other people subscribe to. Hopefully that comes at a later point. The aircraft will set you back $34.95 from the xplane.org store. More information at the link in the show notes below. And that's it for this week's show. I'm sure I messed up, as I always do. Leave me a comment in the comment section below and I'll take a look and see if it's worth including in next week's episode. And until next week, I'll see you all very soon.